Dear friends, hearty welcome once again. Friends, in this lecture, today we are going to study different concepts, different terms such as apomixis, apogamy, apospory, types of apomixes such as recurrent apomixes, non-recurrent apomixes, then adventive embryony, Parthenocarpi, etc. etc. So first of all, let us talk about apomixes. Apomixes. In this term, apo stands for free or without, and mixis stands for mixing or fusion. So apomixis, it can be defined as it is the development of seed without formation of gametes, fusion of gametes. We can say apomixis, it is the process of development of seed without formation of gametes and without fusion of gametes. In another words, we can say that apomixis, it is the process of formation of seed without meiosis and syngamy. Without meiosis and syngamy. All of you are known, during the process of sexual reproduction, it occurs gamete formation, and gametes are formed only by the process of meiosis. Sexual reproduction घडून येत असताना gametes, गॅमेटोजेनेसिस हे meiosis या पद्धतीने होत असतं आणि त्यानंतर there is union of gametes, male and female gamete fused together. You know, this process is called syngamy or fertilization. But whenever the seed is formed, embryo is formed without formation of gametes, that is without meiosis, as well as without syngamy, without fusion of gametes, without fertilization, then it is known as apomixis. And the seeds formed by apomixis are known as apomictic seeds. Let me write briefly here the meaning of apomixis. Apomixis, it is the process of formation of embryo, and seed without meiosis and syngamy. Just as I told you that meiosis occurs only at the time of gametogenesis and syngamy nothing but the union or fusion of gametes. Now in apomixis, listen, in apomixis, when that embryo is formed from any other cell of embryo sac except egg. Listen once again. In apomixis, when embryo is formed from any other cell of embryo sac without fertilization, then it is known as apogamy. Let me explain you. Suppose, consider, here is once again anatropous ovule. As usual, I am going to show. Consider, here is embryo sac. We know that mature embryo sac consists of egg apparatus, that is the group of 3 cells towards the micropylar end, with a middle and larger cell, that is egg cell or female gamete, and 2 laterally placed cells are synergid cells. Also we know at the chalazal end there are presence of 3 antipodal cells, haploid antipodal cells, and at the center there is presence of triploid pair. Now I said that in apomixis, whenever the embryo is formed from any other cell, except female gamete, except egg cell, then it is known as apogamy. Let me write. Apogamy means the formation of embryo from any other cell, any other haploid cell. Means we can say embryo is formed either from these antipodal cells, any one of the antipodal cell, or we can say any one of these synergid cells. So the embryo formed is obviously haploid. या ठिकाणी apogamy मध्ये embryo हा एग सेल किंवा फिमेल गॅमेट व्यतिरिक्त इतर ज्या सेल्स एम्ब्रियो साइट मध्ये आहेत याचा अर्थ मध्ये अँटीपोडल सेल्स असतील किंवा सिनर्जिड सेल्स असतील यांच्यापासून जर एम्ब्रियो तयार होत असेल विदाउट फर्टिलायझेशन तर त्या प्रोसेसला apogamy असं म्हणतात. सो ऑब्वियसली in apogamy, as there is formation of embryo from any other cell of embryo sac, except egg cell, without fertilization, therefore the embryo form is haploid. While when embryo sac is formed, listen, while when embryo sac is formed from any of the sporophytic tissue of immature ovule without meiosis, any of the sporophytic tissue of the ovule without meiosis, then the embryo sac formed and each and every cell of the embryo sac is diploid in nature, and that process is known as apospory. Another term I have introduced here. Let me explain you. We people have studied in previous lectures that during the formation of female gametophyte, initially it occurs megaspherogenesis. You know that megaspherogenesis means the process of formation of megaspore. Listen, या ठिकाणी मी पुन्हा एकदा अनॉट्रोपस ओव्ह्यूल दाखवलेला आहे आणि आपल्याला माहिती आहे की इमॅच्युअर अनॉट्रोपस ओव्ह्यूल मध्ये अशा प्रकारे बॉडी इज कव्हर्ड बाय मीन्स ऑफ इंटेग्युमेंट्स आणि इंटेग्युमेंट्स एनक्लोज a mass of diploid parenchymatous tissue known as nucellus or nucellar tissue. हे आपण शिकलेलो आहोत. You know that here is the nucellus. त्या ठिकाणी हा nucellus आहे and these nucellar cells are diploid in nature. Normally we have seen one of the nucellar cells, सर्वसाधारणपणे या ठिकाणी न्यूसेलसच्या असंख्य सेल्स पैकी एक सेल डिफरन्शिएट होते, तिला आपण डिप्लॉइड मेगास्पोर मदर सेल असं म्हणतो आणि या मेगास्पोर मदर सेलचं मियोसिस घडून आल्यानंतर त्या ठिकाणी 4 हॅप्लॉइड मेगास्पोर्स तयार होतात आणि अर्थातच या 4 हॅप्लॉइड मेगास्पोर्स पैकी one chalazal megaspore, it develops into the embryo sac. This is the normal method. This is the usual method. But sometimes the embryo sac it develops from any of the sporophytic tissue that is any of the sporophytic cell of the ovule except diploid megaspore mother cell and without meiosis. म्हणजे काही वेळेला अनयुजुअली एम्ब्रियो सॅक ही ओव्ह्यूल मध्ये असणाऱ्या ज्या स्पोरोफायटिक सेल्स आहेत म्हणजे डिप्लॉइड सेल्स आहेत अशा कोणत्याही डिप्लॉइड सेल पासून मियोसिस न होता सरळ एम्ब्रियो सॅकची डेव्हलपमेंट होते. अर्थात त्या ठिकाणी या स्पोरोफायटिक ज्या सेल्स आहेत ओव्ह्यूल मध्ये असणाऱ्या ज्या सेल्स आहेत या सर्व डिप्लॉइड आहेत आणि म्हणून त्यांच्यापासून मियोसिस न होता जर एम्ब्रियो सॅक डेव्हलप झाली तर एम्ब्रियो सॅक मध्ये असणाऱ्या सुद्धा सर्वच्या सर्व सेल्स या डिप्लॉइड असतात. सर्वच्या सर्व सेल्स या डिप्लॉइड असतात. Obviously, in such embryo sac, the egg cell is also diploid. Egg cell is also diploid, and such diploid egg cell directly develops into the embryo, and thus embryo form is diploid in nature. This condition is known as apospory. This condition is called apospory. Try to understand. We have started the study of apomixis. First of all, I told you the meaning of apomixis. You know that apomixis means simply it is the process of formation of embryo and seed without meiosis, that is without formation of gametes and syngamy. Okay, that is without fertilization. It is the most appropriate definition. It is the process of formation of embryo and seed without meiosis and without syngamy, and thus the seeds formed by apomixis are known as apomictic seeds. Then I said that in apomixis, if there is a formation of embryo from any other cell of embryo sac except egg cell without fertilization, and thus the embryo formed is haploid known as apogamy, and if the embryo sac is formed from any of the sporophytic diploid cell of the ovule without meiosis, then such embryo sac formed is also diploid, and egg cell subsequently embryo is also diploid. This condition is called as the apospory. Now we have to study about the two main categories of apomixis. आपल्याला apomixisच्या दोन categories समजून घ्यायच्या आहेत. First one is recurrent apomixis and second non-recurrent apomixis. Two categories of apomixis. Such as first recurrent apomixis and second non-recurrent apomixis. Non-recurrent apomixis. Let me explain you. Recurrent apomixis, it is the process in which the embryo sac is formed from diploid megaspore mother cell without meiosis. Embryo sac is formed from diploid megaspore mother cell without meiosis. You know, in normal process of Megaspherogenesis and development of female gametophyte, सर्वसाधारणपणे आपण शिकलेलो आहोत की ज्या वेळेला डिप्लॉइड मेगास्पोर मदर सेलचं मियोसिस होतं त्यापासून एकूण 4 हॅप्लॉइड मेगास्पोर्स तयार होतात आणि नंतर त्या 4 हॅप्लॉइड मेगास्पोर्स पैकी एक हॅप्लॉइड मेगास्पोर पासून हॅप्लॉइड फिमेल गॅमेटोफाइट किंवा एम्ब्रियो सॅक तयार होत असते. बट हियर इन रिकरंट एपोमिक्सिस या ठिकाणी मी असं म्हटलं की एम्ब्रियो सॅक और फिमेल गॅमेटोफाइट embryo sac or female gametophyte is formed from diploid megaspore mother cell. Diploid megaspore mother cell without meiosis. Without meiosis. And so obviously the embryo sac is also diploid in nature. Female gametophyte is also diploid in nature. Female gamete egg cell is also diploid, and subsequently whatever embryo is formed, that is also diploid in nature. While the non-recurrent apomixis, it is the process in which the embryo is formed from haploid female gamete, haploid egg cell. Non-recurrent apomixis मध्ये embryo हा egg cell, haploid female gamete पासून develop होत असतो without fertilization, without syngamy, because you know the main feature of apomixis is no syngamy, no meiosis. So here in non-recurrent apomixis, the egg cell gives rise to the embryo directly without fertilization, and this condition is said to be the non-recurrent apomixis. Now we have to study about the adventive embryony. Let us stop. Adventive embryony, or may be known as adventitious embryogenesis. Adventitious embryogenesis. We all are very well known that in the normal process of sexual reproduction, embryo develops by the division and redivision of diploid zygote, and zygote is the product of syngamy, that is, the zygote is formed by the union or fusion of haploid male and female gamete. Now what does it mean? Adventive embryony. Adventive embryony means it is the process of formation of embryos within the ovule but outside the embryo sac from any other sporophytic tissue of the ovule. That is, the ovules may form from diploid nucellar cells, or maybe from the cells of integument, or maybe from the cells of chalaza. It means that except zygotic embryo, zygote पासून तयार होणाऱ्या एम्ब्रियो व्यतिरिक्त अनेक एम्ब्रियोज तयार होतात. कोणापासून तयार होतात? That may be from diploid sporophytic tissue in the ovule, say nucellar cells, or we can say by means of chalazal cells, or maybe by means of cells of integument. Let me explain you once again. Here, as usual, with the help of yellow chalk, I have shown embryo sac. In this embryo sac, here is supposed to be the zygote. We know that the embryo sac remains surrounded by means of nucellus, thin layer of parenchymatous tissue. Externally, it is covered by means of integuments. The base of body of ovule chalaza. Now I said that adventive embryony means it is the condition in which the embryos develop from other sporophytic cells of the ovule, such as maybe from the cells of nucellar tissue, maybe from the cells of integument, or maybe from the cells of chalaza, except zygotic embryo. Except zygotic embryo. याचा अर्थ झायगोट पासून जो एम्ब्रियो तयार होतो याच्या व्यतिरिक्त ओव्ह्यूल मध्ये इतर जे स्पोरोफायटिक टिश्यू आहेत, मग न्यूसेलसच्या सेल पासून किंवा चॅलेजाच्या सेल्स पासून किंवा इंटेग्युमेंटच्या सेल्स पासून एम्ब्रियोज डेव्हलप होतात. It means that there are formation of many embryos, several embryos within the single ovule, and thus it leads to the polyembryony. It leads to the polyembryony. या कंडिशनला polyembryony असं म्हणतात. Polyembryony असं म्हणतात. Now this polyembryony again is of two types. Polyembryony is very commonly seen in the citrus species, that is in lemon plants, as well as it is seen in mango. Now polyembryony, it is further of two types. Polyembryony चे परत दोन प्रकार पडले जातात, such as the adventive polyembryony and second cleavage polyembryony. Adventive polyembryony and cleavage polyembryony. Let us consider adventive polyembryony. It is the condition in which many embryos are formed within the single ovule. Many embryos are formed within the single ovule, and except zygotic embryo, other embryos are formed from the sporophytic cells, that is again the cells of nucellus or cells of integument or cells of chalaza. While the cleavage polyembryony, it is the condition in which many embryos are formed by the division of zygotic embryo only. It means whatever embryos are formed, whatever many embryos are formed in this condition, that all embryos are formed from the cells of zygote. It means the zygotic embryo, it divides, the cells get separated from each other, and each cell develops into separate embryo, leading to the formation of many embryos. It is known as the cleavage polyembryony. Let me tell you that the polyembryony first of all discovered by scientist Leavenworth. Here we have considered the term adventive embryony and simultaneously polyembryony, the types of polyembryony, that is adventive and cleavage. Now let us move to the next topic, that is Parthenocarpy. Friends, actually we people have already came across the term Parthenocarpy in our 11th class. We know that Parthenocarpy, it is the process of formation of fruit without seeds. So the development of fruit without seeds is simply known as Parthenocarpy. Such seedless fruits are known as parthenocarpic fruits. Now it is believed that the placental tissue, placenta, it is the connecting bridge between the ovule and ovary. Here is the placenta, we all are known. So it is believed that the placental tissue releases the plant growth hormone, that is auxin. Plant growth hormone auxin, and that auxin stimulates the growth of ovary wall, and thus the ovary wall is directly converted into fruit wall without formation of seed. Means here during the process of Parthenocarpy, there is no fertilization, there is no seed formation. Directly the fruits are formed due to the influence of plant growth hormone, and such seeds formed are known as parthenocarpic fruits. Such fruits are called parthenocarpic fruits. The parthenocarpic fruits has a great importance commercially. We know that the parthenocarpic, that is seedless grapes, seedless lemon, seedless tomatoes, watermelon, these all different types of seedless fruits has great importance in market, and so such parthenocarpic fruits, they can be developed artificially by giving the treatment of auxin and gibberellin. So here we have discussed briefly about the Parthenocarpy, and here ends this topic. Let us stop here today. Thank you.